welcome to Surviving This Together, another Survivor podcast. This week we're discussing the 11th episode of Season 35, Heroes, Healers, Hustlers. I'm Levi.
I'm Lori.
And I'm your loved one, Brandon.
Oh.
What was up with this challenge?
God, that was awful. That was like the worst challenge ever. That was straight up Big Brother.
Well, and I feel like there's ways that they could have made it cool. Like if they had, like, let's say Mike and his wife, for example. Mike pick one, like white or black, and then his wife had to guess which one he picked. It'd still be pretty boring, but at least there'd be, like, something.
I think if they're going to last minute a challenge like this, they should have just thrown all the marbles in the middle and Hungry Hippo'd it.
Yeah.
Or at least, yeah, that would be cool. Or at least like a rock, paper, scissors or something.
Yeah. My impression is that they had, like, a water challenge planned, and it was too windy, because I know in Marquesas they had the kite flying challenge, and that was what happened. Like, they couldn't use the water challenge they had prepared, but, like, I feel like they should have, you know, like the challenges where you have to, like, throw stuff at your competition to say, like, I want you out, or something that's super basic set up, like a plan B. I don't know how they don't have a better plan B, unless, like, they had a plan A, B, and C, and everything just broke. But the real question: did the dream team have to test this challenge?
Probably. They probably had to do a quick run through to see how the line down would work.
Pick up a marble.
Man, it had to be. I'm surprised they didn't, like, take a moment to show whatever went wrong, because, like, this looked bad. I mean,
yeah, my other theory is that they have, like, a backup challenge, but it's also something very physical, and with, like, the loved ones being there, the liability, like, they just can't do something that they could potentially get harmed in.
I mean, I guess I don't hate this that much. We're not that into the challenges anyway.
I'm not that into them, but, like, this just
is lazy.
Like, at first, when they picked, like, I think the first 3 people were wrong, I was really thinking that they were, like, trolling them, where Jeff would be like, I'm just kidding, guys, come over here. And, like, they were all purposely, like, you know, like, Mike's bag was both black and his wife's bag was both white or something.
Yeah.
Like, I was convinced they were pranking us.
No, I didn't think that, but at least this happened on a reward challenge. I mean, it's kind of an important reward challenge, but man, if this had happened on an immunity challenge, people would have been livid. I would have been livid.
I kind of like the idea that Survivor is all luck. Not all luck, but a lot of it is luck. So this challenge can be the luck challenge and mix that in a little bit. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, well, on the other hand, though, we had the immunity challenge was an endurance challenge. Normally, I don't like those because it's just like, oh boy, I get to watch people stand on a pole for like an hour. That's boring as crap. But this one was actually real good. I actually really enjoyed this. There was a lot of movement, a lot of back and forth, and there was some deal making, and I really enjoyed the other challenge.
Did you guys catch Jeff's Probst? He did like a haiku about wind chimes. I don't remember it word for word, but it was like, when the wind chimes stop ringing, to tribal you'll be singing, or something like that. Where he's trying to be,
I don't think
very
he
poetic.
Rhymed it.
He didn't.
Maybe he did rhyme it. I don't know.
But it was just very, like, poetic. It was like, Probst, what is up with you this season, man?
Yeah, I mean, we talked a lot about this on the last episode, these Jeff Probst metaphors, and at least we just got this one.
I like them.
Bad.
I like them. They're fun to talk about. They're fun to see.
So it started out with the repercussions of the tribal from last week, and we get Mike just being like, well, they got me again. I have no idea what's going on, but I'm still here, so what are you going to do? But then there was an interaction between Chrissy and Ben that really rubbed me the wrong way, where, like, Ben was pushing Chrissy's buttons a little bit, but not, like, he basically, like, backstabbed her, which, like, they weren't really working together anyway. And the word that she used, she was saying that, like, his response was super rude. He treated me inhuman. Just like, Chrissy, inhuman? Like, that just, it's kind of like, I think she took it a little bit too far with her anger at him. To call him saying that he was treating her inhuman was just too much.
Yeah, this episode, it definitely felt like Chrissy was playing emotionally.
Yeah, and I think the way Mike's game has been going is he's been on the bottom, so he's used to coming back from these tribal councils and saying, well, I'm on the bottom still, and they got me, but I'm still going to have fun out here. And Chrissy's pretty new to that, so her reaction is, like, anger immediately.
Yeah, I'm fine with the anger, like, being like, I mean, like, when Lauren got voted out at the end of the episode, she had, like, there was a great second where it was Lauren, and then, or where it was Ben, all the votes were for Ben, and then, like, all of them had been wiped away, obviously, and he had voted for Lauren. Like, she smiled for a second, and I loved it, because, like, if you're in this game, like, you're mad that you got, like, crossed, but everybody else is playing too. So she just had this moment where like you could tell how much she appreciates the game, where she's like, shit, that was good. You got me. Like, it was just super cool to see, where she was like upset at herself for being kind of a dummy, but she was like, God, that was a good move. Like, she was excited to see that happen, even though it meant she got voted out. And like Chrissy, the like inhuman, like she's acting like he did what Will did to Sharon, sort of thing, where she's acting like he's this horrible person.
Yeah, it's too bad for Lauren. She had an immunity idol and an advantage, and if she had used either of those in this tribal, it would have gone a completely different way. I mean, and there's no way for her to know that, of course. You know, that's the whole thing about tribal, is it's a surprise and people are pulling out tricks. But I actually feel kind of bad for Lauren. It was super classy the way she went out, but she didn't have to go out.
Yeah, I have a lot of feelings on her idol giveaway and her advantage leaving it at the beach. I mean, I think she kind of voted herself out of this tribal. She had so many tools that she could have used to get through this for the next 3 days and make things better for herself. And then to give every single one of those advantages up. I mean, can somebody explain her giving half of the idol to Mike?
It was weird because even Mike seemed like when she handed, well, first of all, what the heck was up with that? Like, I mean, we've seen idols hidden at challenges before, but it was like, people had to like really go out of their way to get them. And like, we had that great moment with Kelly Wentworth in her season where like, it was just nuts watching her get it. And I think Jeremy had a similar situation. For Lauren, it was a shell. And
they put her at the very end of the challenge too. So nobody could actually see her picking up the shell. So there was no risk.
She did it perfect. I mean, I'll give her some credit for that, but she like set it on her leg versus like picking it up and like shoving it in her pants, which would be really suspicious, but it was literally a shell. So she set it on herself for like however many minutes and just had it chilling there because it was literally a seashell. So it was zero risk for her to grab it. When she gave it to Mike later on and she's like, this is half of the immunity idol, he was like, okay. Like, he seemed confused as well as to like why she would be giving him that. It was really strange, but really funny.
Yeah, well, once Ben flipped, they realized they didn't have the numbers, so they had to go and try to pucker up to the 3 that had been in the minority. And I think that was what she was going for. Was kind of like, well, you could work with Ben, or you could work with us, and we're cooler.
Yeah. Okay. So the half an idol thing, it really bothered me right up until the end when it came into play that she was able to give half of it away. But it was weird that she found a note in half an idol that said you have to get the other half for this to be useful. Why not just give her a note that says the idols at the challenge and have that be the full idol?
Yeah, it was really, like you said, like the giving it away part kind of made sense, but I was really wondering I wonder if production's almost trying to set up a precedent where anything can be an idol. Because like we had Ben in this episode making a fake idol to try to kind of like red herring Chrissy and them, but like previously idols were kind of a little bit ornate, at least. Like you had to have like not stuff that you would typically or at least easily turn into a fake idol. But like in the last season we had Debbie getting the like fake idol kit, or I think that was one of her options, and in this one we get the fact that this rope and a single shell are the idol. So I think maybe they're just trying to set up the precedent that like immunity idols might not be that complex and people don't have to try that hard to make fake ones, because we also have Chrissy still has her fake idol from earlier.
So Levi's the big immunity idol fan here. Levi, what do you think about a seashell being an immunity idol?
I like all of it except for that it was... Okay, first of all, I like that it's a half immunity idol, because then it leads to new gameplay moves. It leads to new ways of like what if they were like both hidden separately and you had to figure out who had the other half? So you're like trying to like drop clues around camp, verbally. You're like, oh man, like halfway there, if only I could find an idol. And the other person's like, oh, I think he's trying to get a hold of me, and say like, let's work together. I got the other half of the idol. That's cool. I like that. But the fact that it was like a seashell, like hidden, like at the challenge, like the part about hiding it at a challenge is to make it so that you have to be sneaky to get it. And this like took away from that and just made it like, oh, here's a seashell, just setting it out in front of everyone.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with everything you said. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't even like anybody else could have found the second half of the idol. They literally just put it in front of her and said, here it is. All you had to do was show up to the challenge.
That's true, but then it would have been a whole idol, not a half idol that could have been bargained with in any way.
Yeah, I like that it could lead to new gameplay, but it doesn't necessarily force new gameplay.
Going back to the family challenge, I didn't feel as invested in this one. And I think it was a mix of the competition not being... Because I will say the family visit competitions are always fun. Where you're trying to see, like... You know, especially if it's like... Chrissy's been very good at challenges. Like, everybody's pretty good at challenges, and they get their family member who's just, like, bumbling around, and they're trying to be like, oh, God, Mom, just walk in a straight line. Just please walk in a straight line to that thing. Please help me. And we didn't get that. And then
or
also,
even Spencer's girlfriend rooting for him on the sidelines.
Mm-hmm. I think it was a mix of that, but then also, since Chrissy is the one who won this, you know, with all of the skill necessary that she utilized to win this marble draw, when they get back to camp, we don't really get to see... Usually it's like... We get a little bit of, like, the personal nature, where it'd be, like, Ashley showing around her dad or something. But instead we get almost immediately Chrissy, Ashley, and their family members just kind of sitting behind them because, of course, they can't really participate. And Chrissy trying to get Ashley over. So it was, like, just no break from the gameplay in this. And that was a little bit frustrating for me because, like, it's nice getting to see, like, there's somewhere, like, you know, maybe the husband will say, oh, are you sure you should write this person off? Maybe you should work with them. Or just being like, wow, this is where you eat lunch. That's cool.
I think that I trust CBS to put together the best edit they can. I think they do a really good job of picking the best parts to show. Mm-hmm. And this season there's definitely been some invisible players who, I don't know if they weren't interesting or if CBS was just mad at them. I have my opinions on that, but I don't know. But I think that that's kind of what happened here. Like, I really wish Survivor was longer, like an hour and a half, 2 hours, or like 2 episodes a week or something like that. And that's because of episodes like this where I feel like there's more that could have been shown, and I think they put the best that they had forward, but I feel like there's a lot that we missed out on too.
Yeah, this is a very strategic heavy season. I love the loved one visits when, like Lori was saying, when they just chat on the beach and their family's able to give them input. Yeah, we didn't get anything near like that on this episode.
I feel like we're talking about a lot of the things about this episode we didn't like because it's like, and there's not that much. I loved this episode for like so many reasons. That tribal council was one of the best tribal councils ever. Like everyone, like we've had a few of them where things went crazy and people were just openly talking to each other, and those usually just kind of end up being like a train wreck. But this one came together.
It picks up a ton of speed right after the immunity challenge. Like, immediately, everything starts happening and everybody is getting shuffled around. This could have landed any way going into Tribal Council, I feel. Like, I feel like this episode going in, anybody could have gone home. Will one of you lead me up to Tribal with who was going with who? I need this explained and talked out.
Oh geez. Like, so we had at the reward challenge, we had Chrissy trying to grab up Ashley. And I'm wondering if, just based on the edit, it seems like Ashley has some power, but is mostly giving into the power of suggestion. But I'm wondering if that's just the edit or if that's how it is, where we didn't really see much from Ashley necessarily saying, like, we need to get Ben out. So we had the core 4 alliance. And that's Ben, Lauren, Ashley, and Devin. And at one point, everybody but Ben went up to... We had a great Spy Shack moment here with Ben, where this huge, tall guy is, like, lurking in the shadows again. And he walks up to the 3 of them who are talking about voting him out. And he's like, what's up, guys? And they're like, oh, hey, how are you? You want some water, too? And he's like, yeah, clearly you were talking about something. But what strikes me as funny about all of this is how many people are in the last, like, how many people go to tribal council at the, or not tribal, like the final tribal council?
3.
And so they're going with, like, this close to the end of the game. You can't have, like, a 4-person alliance that's, like, this strong, like, ride or die to the end. Like, it's going to implode.
But wait a little bit. It makes me so mad that they were at 4.
At this point in the game, with this season, I think anybody would be a good winner. I think any person short of maybe Ashley who gets to the end has a chance of making a case to win.
I like Ashley.
I like her, but I think compared to the others, she's just not on the same level as like a Chrissy or Ryan or Ben or Lauren or Devin.
I don't know. I do like all the players, and like and like I admit like Ashley's kind of towards the bottom, but I actually would have put Lauren even like lower though. I haven't been a big fan of Lauren's gameplay.
Oh, I think she's been killing it.
Yeah.
But that's my point is like
popular.
At this point, everybody in that final four has a chance to win. Like there's not really a GOAT amongst that four necessarily. Like if Ashley is the GOAT, like she's still a great player, so that's not necessarily the typical like woo sort of GOAT or whatever.
No, that's true.
Look at your people that you're taking to the very end of the game, and you could lose to any one of them. You're going to want to pick off at least one of the really, really big threats. And, like, you don't want to wait because you're so close to the end that, like, you could only, like, if Ben wins one more immunity challenge, they have, like, one more chance to get him out. Or if he finds another idol, they'll have one more chance to get him out. And that's not great odds.
Who do you think would be the person you wouldn't want to take to Tribal Council because they could beat you? Who do you think is the most popular? Do you think that's Ben?
At the end?
I think
out
Lauren
of the
or
people
Ben.
that are left. Well, Lauren's gone, but like...
I think Ben 100%.
Well, I'm saying at this point in the episode, Lauren or Ben.
Okay, well, sure, but like looking down the road, so you think Ben is the clear one to kick off. So who do you think is after that? I mean, like I'm trying to kind of rank who we think is the most popular with the
I think Devin.
jury.
Yeah, well, it's weird because it depends on what the player's perspective is versus us, because like as viewers we can see Chrissy working her ass off to beat. We can see Devin's little moves, but I think Devin's moves are really subtle and everybody still trusts him at this point, so I don't know if that speaks to him not actually making as many moves as we see. Like it just depends on their perception. I think from my perception I'd say Devin, but I think from their perception Chrissy might be the one to beat.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Ashley's perception of where she is and what she needs to do is on point with exactly what us as viewers are saying and seeing. That's where I think this all started the snowball, is she knows she's a good player, but she might be the GOAT because everybody else is really playing hard.
Yeah,
and so maybe I think we have a situation where there's no clear GOATs, so everybody's trying to step it up, whereas a normal GOAT might just sit back and say, well, I accept this. But nobody this season accepts that at all. And so they all want to prove everybody else wrong and step up their game, which is why I think we have a really awesome end game this season.
Yeah, that's true. Like voting out Joe may have been like the worst decision that all 8 players in today's episode made, because he was the clear GOAT.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I think everybody understood that everybody else wanted them. And they said, no, I don't want that person as the GOAT, because then it's just going to leave me being voted out.
In this episode, the way everything came together, every player pretty much made the perfect move up until Lauren not using either her idol or her advantage, which she didn't have her idol. But so Ben realized that his team was turning on him, so he went to the other team and was working out a deal with them. But then Mike realized that that wasn't really going to help him all that much, so he turned the other team against themselves. Yeah, with the 7 players we had in this episode, I think that everybody made the perfect move step for step. First we had Ben, who realized people wanted to get rid of him. He caught on to it, and so he did the only thing he really could do, which was to go to the other 3 and say, yo, I'm going to work with you guys because I'm pretty sure these guys turned on me. And then Mike did exactly the right thing by saying, yo, Mike flipped on you guys and turning everybody against each other, which takes the focus off of him for sure. And then all these amazing moves. And poor Lauren, she got kind of burned in it because you would have had to realize that A, Ben's flipped, B, that Mike flipped, that C, that the votes were all going to go this way, and that that you had to know that Ben had an idol, which nobody knew. And so everybody made exactly the right move except for Lauren, who couldn't have even known about some of these things, especially Ben's idol.
Can I say something about Lauren getting screwed in this? This is what I always say about idols. If I had one, I would want nothing to do with it. Because Lauren's not the one that started this conversation about voting out Ben. Ashley started this conversation about voting Ben out. But because Lauren's with her, and because Lauren has an advantage and an idol, she's the target immediately. Because Ben needs something to blow up. He needs to reveal all of this information. And unfortunately, Lauren is the one with these powers. So it should have been Ashley, technically being the target because she's the one trying to flip. But because Lauren has all of these things, she's the target. And Ben says it at Tribal. He says, if you have an idol, do not reveal that to anybody. which is what Ben did and which is why he's here and why Lauren's gone.
Yeah, like Brandon, you've been saying this season that I think it was Jeff Probst had said something that like the key to this season is how secrets are handled. And like you've said, like everything it was out in the open here. Like everybody knew about Lauren's thing, everybody knew about Lauren's other thing, everybody knows about Ryan's idol, everybody knew about Mike's idol. And the thing that really saved Ben this episode was the one thing that only he knew about. The only thing that was kept a secret this whole episode is what saved his ass.
That was me. I was talking about that before the season started. Jeff Probst was talking about the secret handling in this season was different, and it was everybody did it. Everybody handled their secrets in very different ways, and it usually turned it out really interesting. And man, what a great way to describe this season. There's so many secrets, whether it was like Cole just like telling everybody's secrets, or Ben keeping his secret, which made the difference because he nullified every single vote except for his.
I like the idea of putting this I like the idea of putting this season as Survivor Secrets, and whoever handles their secrets worst goes home. Lauren literally gave half of her secret away, so she went home. She handled it the worst.
So what do you guys think about Mike throwing that shell into that fire?
That was amazing.
He said, I've been waiting 15 years to do this, or 7 years, or whatever. He'd been waiting a while to do it, and it's just like, that's a very specific Survivor bucket list item, but I like it.
Yeah.
Like, was
exactly
he like,
right.
I'm sure he obviously meant like throwing an idol in the fire, which is still a weird wish, but like the way that he said it after throwing half of an idol, which is such a unique situation, made it seem like I've been waiting to throw exactly half of an immunity idol into the fire.
Didn't somebody else throw an idol in the fire before? I think it was maybe a fake one or something, but
we had one season, I think it was the Blood versus Water that Tyson won, where they got to have the idol or throw it into the fire or something. I can't remember exactly how that worked out, but each episode we had the
clues. They would throw the clue away because they didn't want anything to do.
And it just kind of dominoed into everybody throwing them in because they were like, I don't want to get caught with this. Kind of like the Brandon approach, we'll call it, where you're like, I want nothing to do with everybody knowing that I have this thing. Just keep it away from me. Burn it.
Yeah.
Yeah, once Mike threw that in the fire, my heart just sunk for Lauren. You could see it in her face, too. Her head dropped beneath her knees.
Yeah.
I mean, there was nothing she was going to be able to do at that tribal. When she left her advantage at camp.
Do you believe that she did, though? Or do you think that she was saying that so she wouldn't be a threat? Because you don't want to be like, I'm going to use it now.
I think that she was telling the truth, but not because I think she might have lied about it, but I think that she's just kind of an honest person. So her first instinct was to just be like, oh, I don't have it, and like I think that if she were gonna lie, she would have to like kind of think about it because that's not natural to her.
Yeah, I think she was telling the truth just because she was very straightforward with everything else, even giving the idol to Mike. Like, I think all I can take from it is that she was making bad moves, and a bad move would have been to leave that at camp. So I think she left it at camp.
Yeah. Well, and I think that she was trying to go for some long-term gain, but like, there's like, this was like, I think they were in like day 33 in this episode. There's like about a week left to go. Like, I don't know if there's any more earning new trust at this point. Okay, so back to the family member moment. When Lauren's sister came out, like it was like a total Price is Right moment. She just ran up and hugged Probst, and that was really cute. That was definitely a good moment in this episode that may have been a little overpowered by that tribal council.
Yeah, I mean, if you were on the family visit, wouldn't you run up and hug Probst?
There's no way that you can't. You're like, if this is allowed, like, what if this is like the thing now that people know that it's a thing that you're allowed to do? It just everybody hugs Jeff, and they're like, I'm good. I didn't care about my sister anyway.
For sure.
See you later. Thanks for the plane ride.
Like, I'm wondering if it's going to be a thing now, kind of like on Price is Right, where everybody's like going up and like trying to hug Bob Barker.
Did you find Facebook stuff, guys?
I did. So, okay, going over to Facebook Corner, there's not a lot going on. I just kind of want to touch base with how the fans are receiving this season.
Who's their favorite?
Their favorite is definitely not Chrissy. And definitely not Ben anymore.
After tonight.
Yeah, I don't know why. I think they just want him gone because he's a good player, which I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense. But this person says, Chrissy was a stone cold bee to keep Ben from seeing his wife. She sees his hands trembling, him crying, and just out of pure hatefulness and vengeance, she does that. She should be a target.
So I kind of halfway agree with that and halfway not. I mean, like, at this point, they're adversaries. They're clearly not working together, so obviously she doesn't want him... Like, seeing your family, I think, can be... At this point, when you're just, like, so exhausted and you don't have much for, like, nourishment and stuff, seeing your family with... Especially for him, where he's like, I'm playing for my wife and for my kids. So, you know, he wants that boost. So, like, it makes... I don't think she's a jerk for not giving him that, because that would help him win, and he's already has pretty good footing.
Yeah, and it goes back to how he kind of handled it after Tribal, where he wasn't very sympathetic towards her. I mean, nobody says you have to be. It's a game. But he was pretty blunt with her after Tribal. So I feel like if you're going to do something like that in a social game, you kind of have what's coming to you with this.
Yeah.
From Chrissy. So I think that was fair.
Yeah, and I don't think Ben was particularly pissed off about it either. He was probably really bummed, but he was probably like, "Yeah, that makes sense. I expected that."
Of course you take your people. She took her people on the reward challenge, and then it was her and two other people, and then when it came time to pick a fourth person, she picked the person that she thought that she could strategically maybe pull to her side. So she did everything exactly right. I mean, that's just gameplay.
Yeah, this person I picked to read because they said a lot of what I felt watching this entire episode. Allie says, really wanted Lauren to win it all, but now I'm rooting for Devin. They really should have waited one more week to even talk about voting off Ben. Otherwise, all of the core four would still be there.
Yeah, if they'd have held together, that probably would have been better for them. I mean, I'm glad they didn't because it's good TV, but...
Well, and I think that's a bit, like, results-oriented there, where it's like, as far as they knew, there was no idol in play. If that idol hadn't been in play like they thought, then Ben would be gone, and they'd have their three still. So,
but then they're setting themselves up for a tie next week.
I could see that. I really think, like, going after Ben at this point is a really smart move. Because if he gets to the end, he will beat every single one of them. So you want to take every chance you can get. Because, like, if he wins immunity next week, then, like, he's safe again, you know?
Yeah.
He only has to win, one or two more immunity... Like, there's only one or two more immunity challenges before the finals. And, like, he's not a schlump. Like, he could win those two. He's not the worst. He's not the best at challenges, but, like, it's not... It's feasible that he could win his way to the end.
Yeah, I still disagree. Yeah, if anything, Lauren was a casualty in this movement to get Ben out. Because now that train's really going. She was the one
that was spearheading it, so I think she made herself the casualty, really. Like, it's clear that she was kind of leading the three that were like, let's get him out. Like, Ashley mentioned it, but it was really Lauren that was like... It was this episode was Lauren versus Ben.
Yeah, I was surprised that he didn't take out one of the Chrissy, Ryan, or Mike, because, like, he was already working with the other three, like I felt like it would have been easier for him to kind of work things out with them than to try to switch to the other side.
Well, I think he knew that he was, like, a marked man, and I think Lauren, short of Ben, is probably the best one to take or, like, the best chance to win if she makes it to final, really.
Yeah, fair. We'll see how it turns out.
Oh, yeah, this person says something that's been brought up before. She says, I don't think they should be able to get up and go talk with other people at Tribal Council. Just my opinion.
Oh, yeah, I was actually going to bring that up where, what was it, in Game Changers, we saw this, like, every tribal after the JT vote out, where, and I was wondering this season, like, we hadn't really seen much of that, and I think that I think this cast left, like, in the middle of that season, and so, like, that kind of set a precedent in their mind that it was something you could do. And I think really, so. Yeah, well, and I was curious, like, this whole season, I was kind of waiting for this to happen, and since it hadn't yet, I was thinking that maybe that was an indication that producers were like, that's not allowed. But I do like that they handled this one a little bit more, where they were subtitling what the relevant information was. Like, when Ryan whispered over at, like, Mike, like, hey, write down Lauren's name, or write down Ben's name, or whoever he wanted out at that point in time. It switched after that, but I think the edit of it was handled a lot better. I think that the production team, like, knew how to handle this better.
I think I like this. I like seeing this. Of course, I don't think it should be against the rules. I think the game needs to be as fair as possible. If that takes some last minute changes, then so be it.
I'm going to split the difference on this. On one hand, I can see where Tribal Council should be set up like a court of law, where you're sitting there, you all have your time to speak, and if you need to speak, you have to speak on the record. But that's a pretty specific guideline for a tribal council. On the other hand, I love that a tribal council can just flip-flop all over the place, and then we kind of see how it has to be pieced together, maybe in the next episode. Yeah, I don't know. I really like these live tribals, though.
I think I'd be okay with a mix of it where you're allowed to talk, but you can't get up. But then that also kind of depends on, like, how they sit down. Like, do they pick their seats? Do this production line
Yeah, that's
them
another
up?
good point. It's not fair if you're sat across from somebody that you can't talk to. I think you should be able to transfer information just as well as somebody sitting next to the other person.
Yeah, I think I'm okay with it as long as Jeff kind of keeps it under control, where it's not complete chaos for like 30 minutes, where Jeff's like, okay, guys, you've had enough, please sit back down sort of deal.
Which he does.
Yeah.
I like it. I'm for it. This person says, I really like Ryan, and I really wanted to... No, this is me talking now. I wanted to put this in here because finally somebody on Facebook just likes Ryan. So, they said, I like Ryan. He needs to find a way to get into that group of 4. Hopefully they start imploding on each other. That kind of already happened, so I don't know what they're trying to say, but I wanted to ask, do you think there's any way Ryan can get back into this loop, maybe with Devin and Ashley at least?
At this point, just based on edit, I don't think Ryan has a chance for a win.
I think that Ryan and Mike are two of the safe. I think Ryan, Mike, and Ashley are the safest players right now, and might very well end up being the final 3 because everybody else has been a target except for those 3. Really?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
Like with the
explain more.
Since there's no clear divide now, like we had that 4 and 3 that just was completely lost by the end of this episode. I think that pretty much everybody's going to be acting as a free agent at this point, and because of that, I think that the least targetable players are going to make it, which I believe are Ryan, Dr. Mike, and Ashley, because everybody else is going to be gunning so hard for each other that they're just at the bottom of the target list.
I totally agree. This person says, my prediction for Final 3 will be Ashley, Devin, and Mike, winner being Ashley, which is kind of what you said, just flip-flopping Devin and Ryan. Devin or Ryan, who do you think is least targetable and has the best shot?
Well, I think Ryan, because at this point your fear is somebody idling or immunity-ing to the end, and obviously Devin. Like at this tribal where everybody, or that this competition for the immunity where everybody else is like dying and stuff, he just kind of like stretches out his hips, and he did the whole like, hey, I can stay up here for a while, but can we just call it? Like, I don't want to keep going sort of thing. Like, he's obviously more physically fit than Ryan.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think Devin could make it too. He's not as big of a target. He is a physical threat, but I don't think people are going to really be gunning for him because of that at this point. Like, I think by the time that, I think that would be like Final 4 where they're like, oh, we got to get rid of him, but it's Final 4. It's whoever wins that last challenge, you know?
Oh, like, how much do you think people like Malcolm and Joe from season 30 and stuff are just watching Devin and they're like, why was I not on this season? Because he's, like, Devin's archetype is always, like, right when merge hits, they're like, we need to get that guy out. And somehow Devin's just like, hey, friends. But he's still being super strategic. He's not a goat by any means, but he's
That's
just...
true.
See, I still, I believe Devin can take it all because it's kind of like I was saying the last time. Devin's worked a little bit with everybody, and everybody really trusts him. You know, maybe not Ben anymore, but everybody's worked a little bit with him and know that they can. Whereas Ryan, I feel like a lot of people just don't trust working with him because of the things that he has done.
When we have, like, the different handling, like, I think Devin has crossed people just as much as Ben has, but when, you know, Ben's kind of smarmy about it, like, whereas Devin's kind of like, hey, you know, I had to do it, I'm sorry, and, like, getting back in their good graces versus trying to kind of rub their nose in it a little bit, which is really good.
It's going to be good. It's going to be good. I don't know how much, like, I feel like nobody really has that much dirt, though. Like, when it comes to the final tribal, I feel like there's not going to be that many skeletons coming out of the closet, you know, people like who are like furious, like, why'd you do this? And then like it, you know, like it degrades into like an argument, like, I wasn't going to get your vote anyways, to hell with you.
Yeah.
Which is too bad. I mean, I'd like to see that, but you know, you take what you can get. These are good players. I like them.
Well, and I think with the new format too, like before you just had one shot to address everybody's questions. And they might not give you the questions that you need. And this one with the outwit, outlast, outplay, like you really get a chance to say, here's how I did this part. Here's how I did this part. And like kind of if, I guess these guys wouldn't have seen the last season, but going forward, especially where players have seen that and know that they're like mentally preparing for that can really like plan stuff ahead of time, you know?
Yeah.
Brandon, give us that last Facebook corner.
Sonia says, "Who left? I switched channels and missed who went. LOL." Thanks everyone for listening to this episode of We're Surviving This Together. If you have any questions or comments, you can email us at survivingthistogether@gmail.com. Find us on Twitter at survivingtogether and on Facebook. If you liked what you heard here, please leave a review. Thank you. Thanks. Bye.